Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into Stoicism.
Oh, yeah.
But not just any Stoicism. We're going straight to the source Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
It's a good one.
Yeah, you might know him as a Roman emperor, but
That's right.
he was also this deep thinker
Yeah.
who wrestled with life's big questions, and his insights are surprisingly relevant even today.
You know what's fascinating about Meditations is that it wasn't meant for publication.
Really?
It's like we're peeking into Aurelius's personal journal.
Oh, wow.
Seeing his raw, unfiltered thoughts on how to live a good life.
Oh, that's cool.
And he does this through these aphorisms.
Aphorisms.
Yeah, these short, punchy sayings
Okay.
that pack a philosophical punch.
I like it.
Yeah.
So it's not like a systematic treatise on Stoicism. It's more like these nuggets of wisdom that you can really chew on.
Yeah, and one of the things that jumps out from these aphorisms is the Stoic emphasis on virtue as the ultimate good.
Okay, so virtue as the ultimate good.
Absolutely. Aurelius is very clear about this.
Oh,
He says, and I'm quoting here,
Oh.
"If thou shalt find anything in this mortal life better than righteousness, than truth, temperance, fortitude, apply thyself unto it with thy whole heart. But if nothing thou shalt find worthy to be preferred to that spirit which is within thee,
Okay.
then give not way to any other thing. Make choice of that which is best and stick unto it." Now that they say is best, which is most profitable, he's basically saying that all the external stuff,
Yeah.
wealth, fame, even pleasure, it's all fleeting.
Okay.
What truly matters is cultivating your inner character.
It's a pretty radical idea, isn't it?
It is.
In a world that's constantly telling us to chase success and happiness
Right.
through these external means, Aurelius is saying, nope. It's all about what's going on inside.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you felt that pressure to achieve something, acquire something, just to feel good about yourself?
All the time. But Aurelius reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't come from what you have,
Okay.
but from who you are.
That's a good point.
And this idea of virtue being the sole good,
Yeah.
it's not just some abstract philosophical concept.
Right.
It has real practical implications for how we make decisions in our lives.
So how do we actually apply this idea?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, of virtue as the sole good in our daily lives. Does it mean we should all become ascetics
What?
and renounce all worldly possessions?
Not necessarily. It's more about a shifting perspective.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that while external things can be enjoyable or useful,
Right.
they shouldn't be the source of our happiness or self-worth.
So it's about asking ourselves, am I making this decision out of a desire for virtue, or am I being driven by something more superficial, like greed or envy?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So it's about aligning our actions with our values,
Yes.
with those inner qualities that Aurelius prizes so highly. Righteousness,
Yeah.
truth, temperance, fortitude.
Exactly.
And how do we do that in a world
Right.
that's full of distractions and temptations?
That's where another key Stoic idea comes in.
Oh, it's that.
Acceptance of fate or providence.
Okay, this is where things start to get a little tricky for me.
Oh, really?
I mean, how much control do we really have over our lives?
That's a question that Aurelius grapples with in Meditations.
Okay.
He uses this powerful analogy.
I like analogies.
The nature of the universe hath prescribed unto this man sickness or blindness or some loss or damage or some such thing.
Okay.
For as there, when we say of a physician that he hath prescribed anything, our meaning is that he hath appointed this for that as subordinate and conducing to health. So here whatsoever doth happen unto any is ordained unto him as a thing subordinate unto the fates.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
So it's like the universe is the doctor and we're the patient.
Yeah.
We might not like the treatment plan, but we have to trust that there's a reason for it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's not to say we should be passive
Right.
or give up on our goals.
Yeah.
It's more about recognizing that there will always be things outside our control.
Oh.
Illness, accidents, the actions of others. But what we can control
Yeah.
is our response to those events.
So it's about that internal locus of control, that Stoic idea of focusing on what we can influence rather than what we can't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always feel easy, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Especially when life throws curveballs our way.
And this is where Aurelius's emphasis on rationality and self-control comes into play.
Okay. Rationality and self-control.
He writes,
Yeah.
"Suffer not that excellent part to be brought in subjection and to become slavish. Suffer it not to be drawn up and down with unreasonable and unsociable lusts and motions, as it were, with wires and nerves. Suffer it not any more, either to repine at anything now present, or to fear and fly anything to come which the destiny hath appointed thee."
So it's basically saying don't let your emotions rule you.
Exactly.
But wait a minute, isn't suppressing our emotions unhealthy?
Well, let's talk about that.
I mean, we're human beings. We're supposed to feel things right.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not about denying our emotions altogether.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that our emotions can sometimes cloud our judgment and lead us to make impulsive or unwise decisions.
Right. It's about understanding that our emotions aren't always reliable guides to action.
Okay.
They're part of our human experience, but we don't have to be slaves to them.
So how do we find that balance?
That's the key.
How do we acknowledge our emotions without letting them completely take over?
Aurelius suggests using our reason
Okay.
to examine our emotions.
So we don't ignore them,
Right.
but we look at them.
Yeah, he's not saying we should ignore our feelings, but rather that we should step back and observe them with a detached and objective eye.
Okay.
And then we can use our reason to decide how best to respond.
Okay, so it's about cultivating that space.
Yes.
Between stimulus and response.
Exactly.
That ability to pause and choose our actions rather than just reacting impulsively.
Exactly. And this ability to control our emotions is not just about personal well-being. It's also about our interactions with others.
Right, because how we manage our own emotions can have a huge impact on our relationships.
Yes.
And the kind of community we create.
And Aurelius emphasizes this idea of interconnectedness and duty to others.
Duty to others.
He says, "Let it be thy earnest and incessant care as a Roman and a man to perform whatsoever it is that thou art about with true and unfeigned gravity, natural affection, freedom, and justice." He saw each individual as part of a larger social fabric, and he believed that we have a responsibility to act in ways that benefit not just ourselves, but also the community as a whole.
It's like that saying, no man is an island.
Right.
We're all interconnected, and our actions ripple outward and affect others.
Precisely. And this Stoic concept of duty, it's not just about following rules or conforming to social expectations. It's about acting in accordance with reason and virtue, with a sense of justice and compassion for others.
And that can be a powerful antidote
to
the individualism and self-centeredness that we sometimes see in our society.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we are not isolated individuals, but rather part of a larger human family.
And that brings us to another important Stoic theme. The idea of impermanence.
Impermanence.
Aurelius is constantly reminding us that everything is in flux, that change is the only constant. He has this incredibly vivid quote where he says, "Asia, Europe, what are they? But as corners of the whole world, of which the whole sea is but as one drop, and the great Mount Athos, but as a clod, as all present time is, but as one point of eternity."
Wow.
All petty things, all things that are soon altered, soon perished.
That's one of my favorite passages. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It makes our everyday worries and anxieties seem so small.
So insignificant.
In comparison to the vastness of time and the universe.
It's like he's saying, hey, chill out, this too shall pass.
Exactly.
And this awareness of impermanence, it's not meant to make us feel insignificant or nihilistic. It's meant to free us from clinging to things that are ultimately fleeting.
It's about detaching from those things that are beyond our controlled possessions status, even our own bodies. And focusing on what truly matters. Our character, our actions, our relationship.
You've got it, and this brings us to the ultimate goal of Stoicism.
Okay, what's that?
Inner peace.
Inner peace.
And self-sufficiency.
Aurelius writes, "At what time soever thou wilt it is in thy power to retire into thyself, and to be at rest and free from all businesses. A man cannot any whither retire better than to his own soul, he especially who is beforehand provided of such things, within which whensoever he doth withdraw himself, to look in, may presently afford unto him perfect ease and tranquility.
That's beautiful.
It's like he's saying that we all have this inner sanctuary, this place of peace and stillness that we can access at any time.
And that's such a powerful message,
It is.
especially in a world that's constantly bombarding us with stimulation and distractions.
Yeah, constantly.
Aurelius is reminding us that we don't need to look outside ourselves for happiness or fulfillment.
Right.
We have everything we need within.
But finding that inner peace, that sense of self-sufficiency,
right.
it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean, there are always going to be external challenges, setbacks, things that threaten to disrupt our equilibrium.
Of course. But Stoicism provides us with tools and practices to cultivate that inner strength and resilience.
And that's what's so inspiring about these aphorisms from meditations.
It is.
They're not just abstract philosophical concepts.
Right.
They're practical guidelines for living a good life.
Yes.
For finding peace and fulfillment amidst the chaos of the world.
I couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Aurelius's meditations, I'm curious, what stands out to you as the most relevant takeaway for our listener today? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
Virtue acceptance, reason, duty, impermanence. It's a lot to process.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But I think what ties it all together is this idea that true happiness, true freedom comes from within.
Okay.
We can't control the external world.
Right.
But we can control our own minds, our own responses.
That's a good point.
And in a world that's constantly trying to pull us in a million different directions, that's a really empowering message.
It is. It's almost like Aurelius is giving us a blueprint for building an inner fortress.
I like that.
A place of peace and strength that can withstand any storm.
Yeah.
And the building blocks are these virtues.
Right.
These practices he outlines in meditations.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these building blocks aren't just some abstract philosophical concepts.
Right.
They're things we can actually practice in our daily lives.
Okay.
We can choose to focus on what we can control. We can practice mindfulness and emotional regulation. We can act with kindness and justice towards others.
Right. It's not just about reading Aurelius's words and nodding along.
Exactly.
It's about actively putting them into practice.
Yes.
It's about making those small daily choices that align with Stoic principles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's really striking about meditations is that it's not a book of rules or commandments.
Okay.
It's a collection of personal reflections. A man grappling with these ideas himself.
That's interesting.
And that makes it all the more relatable, all the more human.
Absolutely. It's like he's inviting us into his inner world.
Yeah.
His process of self-discovery and growth. And in doing so, he's showing us that this path of Stoicism, it's not about achieving some kind of perfect state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about continually striving, continually working on ourselves.
Right. It's a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
And it's a journey that's open to everyone, no matter what their background or beliefs are.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a thought-provoking question inspired by Aurelius's meditations.
Okay.
He wrote these reflections for himself as a way of making sense of the world and his place in it. So I want to ask you, the listener, if you were to choose just one aphorism from meditations to guide you through the week ahead, what would it be and why?
What words of wisdom from this ancient philosopher resonate most deeply with you right now?
Take some time to ponder that. And if this deep dive has sparked your interest in exploring Stoicism further, I encourage you to pick up a copy of Meditations yourself.
It's a good one.
Or delve into the works of other Stoic philosophers.
Yeah, there's so many.
There's a whole world of wisdom out there just waiting to be discovered.
And remember, the journey begins with a single step.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Stoic philosophy. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and keep diving deep.